would like to welcome everyone this evening to this woman-to-woman conversation. This is our third one in our series, where we've really been looking at issues related to women in the visual arts sector across different kinds of disciplines and different kinds of people we've spoken to. And this particular topic is especially focused on education. And myself, representing August House and Meta Foundation, have partnered with Olwethu and Palesa to bring you this series. And we really hope that out of this there'll be some constructive feedback, because our hope at August House is that we can take everyone's input and use it to develop programs that actually make a difference. As important as having these conversations are, it's also very important that we're doing something about them. So with that, I'm going to hand over to our two awesome hosts this evening, Olwethu de Vos, who is an artist and a curator, and Palesa Suthane, who's also a curator. And they will be running the conversation along with all of our awesome panelists who have given of their time to come and speak to us this evening. Over to you, Olwethu.
Okay, hi guys. I'm Olwethu and
I'm Palesa. Welcome to Women discussions, conversations with the two of us. This week's topic is we are all educated. And we'll be discussing women's notions around formal education in relation to men's ability to enter the market without formal education. I'd like to start by introducing our panelists. We are joined by Greatjoy Ndlovu, Keneilwe Mokoena, Bev Bo, and Percy Maimela. We're all visual artists, and we're excited to begin.
Yes. So our first question is that, you know how everything evolves with time, and in the from generation to generation. So in the art industry, what worked for the last generation might not necessarily be relevant to this generation. So being in the times of like 2020, like the shift of 2020, 2021, maybe 2022, is having a formal education from an institution relevant in this time? So I think this question we're gonna ask each of you. So normally we normally dedicate a question to like a specific panelist. But then I think with this question, we'd like to hear like each of your opinions. So we'll start with Greatjoy.
Remember to unmute.
Remember to unmute yourself, Greatjoy.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I think the most important thing is to, understand the contemporary times, like our modern times, capturing the state of affairs around us, around our communities. I think that's the most important thing, like from an honest position as an artist. I think that's what makes an artist to flourish at the end of the day. Formal education is just like, icing on the cake. But I think like the passion, being individually driven it's something which makes you to go far.
Thank you. Bev, would you agree?
I don't know. It's kind of a mix of emotions. I think it depends what your intentions are in your art career. Like, are you only focused on the practical side of it, the creation part of it, or the academic part of it? So, I mean, I've met artists who have managed to, like create bodies of work that, sort of have like a signature or that is really good, but hadn't had formal education. So I'd say, I mean, regardless of whether you go to university or not, research helps a lot, you know. It's good to know about what's happening in the arts, or about theories and all these conversations around the arts. So that I think is essential in all aspects. But at the same time, nowadays you don't have to go to university to learn all those things. There's information that's out there everywhere. You can gain that information, and you know, I think an advantage is also that you can seek for the information you specifically are interested in, and that's the freedom of using new technologies to learn stuff. And then in the case of, as opposed to going to university and studying, let's say for 3 years, about specific topics, about specific work, being asked to create specific work according to the syllabus and all that stuff. If you're more self-driven, then I think you would be better off finding the information that you specifically are interested in. I mean, for myself, I studied and got my 3-year diploma at TUT and decided to go into professional practice. So I moved to Joburg, started doing that. 2 years later, I thought, okay, let me go back and do my 4th year and continue doing research. This was because I started working with a microbiologist at Wits, and I was really interested in the intersection between science and art and technology. So one of the things, the advantages about university is that you get access to resources. So I figured if I go continue my BTech and be affiliated with the university, it would be so much easier for Wits University to allow me to work in their labs. And obviously the body of work with all that research would have more substance. But so I went back, and I think somewhere in the first term, I was so, to say it bluntly, bored. I was not motivated. I felt like I wasn't learning anything that I specifically wanted to learn. So, you know, continuing with my studies became very irrelevant in my life because I was focused on my career and also wanting to focus on the specific work that I want to research. But now we have to do things according to the syllabus. So that means writing essays that you don't really care about, and deadlines and all that stuff. So I think it really boils down to the individual. I think it's important to learn all these things, but figure out which ways work better for you. For me, I prefer self-driven research more than having to sit in a lecture room learning about things you learned for the past 3 years and repeating things.
But I think what I'm also getting from you is that because you are distinctively distinguishing your career and your studies, so would you say that being in an institution helps you in terms of conceptualizing your work, but not necessarily help you in the progress of your career?
Yeah, I think the academic system is more interested in producing more lecturers. But like, it's more for the research aspect of it and credits also, which also depends where do you want to take your career? Do you want to be a lecturer? Do you want to write for publications? Do you want to curate, you know? So yeah, if you want to be in the academic field, then it's best to go to university. But right now I'm more focused on my professional career as an artist, and that for me means making. So I'm more interested in the making aspect of it, and I already know what I want to make. I already know what I'm interested in. But then again, perhaps if I hadn't gone through university, I wouldn't be at this stage.
Yeah.
So it depends. It really depends. But I think now with online education, it's so much easier. And you also have to think about the cost of studying. I mean, I have debt with NEPSIS, which I don't know how I'm going to pay. I don't really want to pay it. And to be honest, most of the things that I practice as a professional artist, like the business side of it, the professional side of it, I learned as I went through experiences and less from university, which is, you know, one of the many problems I have with the way we've structured education in formal institutions. I think we need to rethink how we do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, there's pros and cons to going to university. But to be honest, I don't think you need to go to university to be a great artist. Don't put yourself in debt.
Thank you for that, Keneilwe. So now we'll move on to Bev. So just carrying on from what Greatjoy said and what Keneilwe has shared with us, what is your opinion on the matter?
Listening to Keneilwe and agreeing with a lot of what she's saying, in that I think that each artist is an individual, as each person is an individual, and we all have our own abilities and talents and our own desires for our careers and for our lives. And I think that that's what comes into the decision to go, you know, to study art or not to. For me, I am strategically, in terms of where I want my career to go and in terms of the kind of person I am and the kind of making that I do, I'm such a thinking, analytical person who needs to understand the context of what I'm doing so well that going to university has been the most unbelievable thing for me. But I did also come from a radically different career into art, and it's been a huge shift of like my entire frame of thinking has had to change from I was in a corporate accounting career to being an artist. It's just such a radical shift. I think we should differentiate between an undergrad. I found it so inspiring, interesting, stimulating, really enriching to the work that I'm making on a practical level and on a conceptual level. So for me, it's been absolutely fantastic, but I am the kind of person who doesn't have the confidence in my abilities without that educational background. I come from a family where education, before I could walk, I was being told that it was important that I got an education. My grandfather left Europe just before the Second World War, the Holocaust, with no education, and I could see there was such a lack in him, such a hole, that he didn't have the opportunity to be educated. So this is kind of inbred in the fiber of my being, that you have to have an education. So I think it really depends on the kind of person you are, the kind of artist, what you want from your career. What Keneilwe is saying in terms of making sacrifices is absolutely huge, because the cost of it is huge. I started studying when my career was on a fantastic trajectory, and going back to university, you step back from being noticed in any kind of a way. You make absolute sacrifices in terms of your family life, in terms of the exhibitions you can take on, in terms of your career, in terms of, as Keneilwe was saying, the financial implications of it. Like, in every respect, there's huge sacrifices. And unless it feels that it's important enough to you strategically to your long-term career, there's no point in taking that on. But for me, I know it is exactly the right thing. And I'm so thrilled that I am where I am. I'm thrilled that it's accepted me into their master's program. I think my supervisor is incredible. I've been exposed to people and thinking that I never, ever would have on my own, and kind of the networks, the feedback, the input, the really hard questions that are asked, the pulling you apart, all of that has been incredibly valuable. But that's for me personally, and I think it really is a very, very personal decision as to whether it's the right thing for you or not.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Bev.
and maybe we should think about education in a more broad way, you know. I think the point is you do need education. You then have to decide, is it formal education or in university, or is it your own personal online research? You can get all that information on either platforms. So it's still education, and it's still very necessary. You need to know about everything.
Yeah, I think the heart of the question is it's also not in terms of research. The question comes from you know, being a successful artist in the art industry. And even for me, in my experience, I felt yes, there were benefits because I studied at UT. Yes, there were benefits towards it, but I felt like the things that we learned, it was not necessary to stretch everything within like a 4-year period. You know, everything could have been done in at least 2 years. But most importantly, when I graduated, I felt like I was starting from grade 1 again, because there were so many things I did not know. We were taught to be like factory workers, you know, like, you know, they hone you on the scale of making art, but not necessarily on the skills of selling your art and how to manage yourself as a business. So this is where this question came from, whether is having a formal education as a practice, like if you want to be a professional artist in the industry, is it really, is it like in this generation? Because obviously it's been a system that's been there for many years. But then me and Palesa were thinking, actually, yes, it's been a system, but it's a system that was established probably like in the 1950s, you know, and now we're in 2020.
Is it still relevant?
And is it still relevant, you know, to be a successful artist? Do you necessarily need to go and do a 4-year degree on fine arts? So I know you didn't go to an institution to study. So what has been your experience? What is your opinion on the matter?
Oh, hi guys. This is a topic some of us have been having, like some of us from constructing, like I'm from the streets, so like I do not know the term Sakosgela, but I've realized that there's like things that one could use from Kosgela. So I have a few people who go to school for tertiary for art. One issue for now is that what they're learning is it's like it's an ancient information. Is like, bro, you cannot relate with the information a buyer in Kosgela. So sorry for using different languages at the same time. You cannot relate with some of the information from school. So now it makes you irrelevant in this contemporary time. So you have to, after you come from school, after you got your qualifications, then you have to come back to start. As you said, or you felt like you started from grade one again. So when you come to the streets, then you learn that no, man, I was being taught the ancient techniques. I was being taught ways that are, well, they are relevant for art, but they are not relevant for the industry, for the art industry. So when you get here, you start learning that you need to sell your work. Now, this is business. It's no longer about your qualification. You need to learn how to survive as an artist. Now, that perspective you didn't have because you thought, okay, I'm going to school. I'm going to finish I'm going to get my qualifications and I'm going to be a successful artist. And then when you realize that it doesn't work that way, then it becomes a problem. So for me, I think there's some essence of importance of learning, not necessarily getting a qualification from school, but having information, relevant information. So that's why you need to always make research. You always need to see what is happening in the art industry. That's why the good thing is that we have technology now. So a few years back, people didn't have technology, so they couldn't learn by themselves. And then I think the major drive is, to answer the question is, are you strong enough, or do you have a very intact will to start something by your own? Can you learn by yourself? If you can't do that, then you need some sort of starters for you to become an artist. So that on itself, then it gives you an environment because then there's people who do art, and then you start learning things that you couldn't learn from your home. And I might be speaking too fast. I keep already. Am I fast or not?
Yeah.
So yeah. Once you know yourself that if you are self-driven, self-motivated, you don't see that major necessity of obtaining a qualification. But if you are that kind of a person that you need to have a deeper understanding, where if you go to tertiary, then they'll give you a full information or part of the information. Obviously, they don't give you full information. They give you part of information, but then make sure that when you are at school or at tertiary, you utilize the environment. Because most of us, we go to school for the sake of getting information and then getting qualifications, and then we're done. But then we don't realize that if you have you're working on an assignment, had you known that art is business, if you were working on an assignment, then that assignment could be part of your body of work when you finish your qualification. Then you had already started your career. But then because we don't go to school with that idea, and then we are not taught that idea. When we get our qualification, it's like, okay, I've got it's like getting a matric certificate again. Like, okay, matric certificate, what am I going to do? You still need to structure yourself again. Okay, now I need to be an artist, or I need to be a lecturer, or now you start to study hard again. So it mostly depends on you. So mostly, luckily enough for some of us, we have a will. It doesn't mean that if we didn't go to school, we didn't learn. Like, I've learned a lot. I can even write a book with what I've learned from social media, from other artists. So if you learn continuously regardless of your qualification. Remember, in art, we don't get hired at the CV, and then you say, "Well, I have this qualification," and they say, "Oh, yeah, okay, you're qualified for this position." So you have to position yourself. It doesn't work that way. So yeah, there are benefits, but regardless of you're from school or what, when you get to the industry, it's a different environment.
Oh, that's actually an interesting point, Percy, because our follow-up question was going to be, is the curriculum of art institutions outdated in preparing an artist for the industry? And you mentioned so many good points about leaving the schooling environment and then getting out there and realizing that no, there's actually more to being an artist than just creating. There's a business aspect that you need to focus on. So that is our next question. Do you feel that these art institutions have the relevant, full information, and is their curriculums outdated? I want to go to Bev.
It is definitely outdated. It's way, way, way outdated. Like, you don't go to school and then if they were teaching you how to market yourself as a brand, if they taught you that as an artist you're a brand, they don't teach you how you're a brand now. Now, because of the social media, we consider ourselves brands because we are learning information now. But then the traditional information that you get from school is way, way, way outdated. It should be written more thing like the ancient artwork. But it doesn't mean that it's not relevant.
I think I would disagree with you a little bit, because for me, in my experience, when I was curating and working like with a lot of artists, I found that it actually differs depending on which institution that you come from. So there are institutions where they don't really check with what's happening in the contemporary landscape, and they keep teaching you whatever they've been teaching you for the past 10 years. And then there are institutions where they are involved in the contemporary landscape, because also the lecturers are practicing artists as well. So they also have information on what's going on and can advise you adequately. But I think the other thing is, when you're in an institution, you have the mentality of being a student, and you don't realize that your lecturers are also your peers in the art industry. So the art industry, this person is your colleague, but when you're on campus, this person is your lecturer. So like Bev, in your opinion, being a student at Wits, would you say that the curriculum is up to date, or it's outdated, or your generic opinion about the
curriculum?
The curriculum.
Yeah.
So I am a student of Wits, but again, I want to differentiate between undergrad and postgrad or doing a master's, because I actually don't know what they teach the undergrad students at Wits. So I don't feel like I'm qualified to answer that. I can tell you from a master's perspective. The one thing that I did want to say, in lockdown, we and the master students were invited to some of the sessions held by the Wits lecturers. And what they did, which I thought was really fantastic, was to have different curators, different non-profit organizations active in the arts industry, like Made You Look and Pool, and some of the non-gallery, non-known places come and talk and present their offerings. And I thought that was fantastic, because it seemed to me, and it's just my perception as an outsider looking into what's happening in the undergrad space, that they are trying to prepare their students for what comes afterwards. But I don't feel like I'm really qualified to say. What I do want to say is that from a master's perspective, there is no curriculum. You make your own research, you make your own project, you decide on how you want to do it, where you want to do it, what you want to read, what you want to research. So in a way, the way that Keneilwe was describing the kind of research and reading that she does is what my master's project has been. It's just that what I get in addition to if I had done it on my own is I have a supervisor who's there, who's very knowledgeable, very well read theoretically and practically. She's a Goodman artist. She's got incredible experience, and she challenges me at every step along the way, which has been unbelievable. Then there's also the input from the other lecturers, and you'll have like open studio sessions where you're presenting your work. And I've had Tracy Rose in my studio giving me feedback. Charlene Khan's fantastic. Zen Murray, David, and all of them have given the most unbelievable inputs. I feel like from that perspective, it's been incredible for me. I think that what a master's degree is about, in my opinion, is about self-reflexivity. It makes you unpack your practice, it makes you unpack your mindset, it makes you unpack your inbred biases, and to start thinking about yourself who you are as a person and who you are as an artist, and how that all fits together. And I found that for me to be incredibly, incredibly interesting. And then coupled with that, the other value that that has come through very strongly is it's about your drive and your hard work and your dedication and your focus to your own career, that unless you're doing it for yourself, it's not going to happen. And when, you know, career, you're making your process, whatever it is. And then the deep, deep investment in process. So for me, the things that I feel that the Masters has given me, which is not curriculum, but it's skills and thinking, are about self-reflexivity, about drive, hard work, and about process. And I think all those things have been incredible for me, but not that different to what, you know, any of the other panelists who aren't at doing a master's degree have said. You know, so it's just maybe a more formalized process of doing that, but it's not, you know, it's not like radically different.
Thank you, Bev. So, Greatjoy, can you please share with us the importance of understanding yourself as a brand and not just an artist?
Point number one, I think honesty is the most important factor when it comes to, you know, branding. You know, you have to be honest, because in as much as you would like to be a William Kenridge or a Sam Klengetwa or any other thriving artist which we look upon, it's gonna be difficult for you as an artist, you know, to reach those levels if you undermine honesty. So if you're honest with yourself and you're honest with your journey, and you are, you know, you are really serious about your craft, I think you will get there. You know, you will get wherever you're supposed to go, because art is like, you know, art is a journey, and the most important part about, you know, creation, it evolves. And when you evolve and you're honest with your craft, you become the best version of yourself. For instance, I can tell you, I come from, you know, what do you call it? What do they call it? Gondwana land. I come from Gondwana land, you know, and I never thought in my life one day I'll be this artist, you know, doing whatever I was doing. But because I, you know, believed in myself, and I believed in whoever mentored me by the time, and engaging with people is very important, because you learn a lot. You know, there's so many things you guys know which I don't know. You know, the more I listen and I engage with you guys, the more I grow as an artist, you know, because it's all about practicality. So like, being like a practicing artist, it takes a lot from you. It takes, you know, what we call it, you know, ground research. You know, you have to research, you have to understand what's happening, you know, down in the business. You have to understand what's happening around the world. You have to understand yourself and understand the market. So there's the business of the arts. The business of the arts is different from, you know, your practical, what you call it, your practical ways of doing art. So there are two different things. So you have to understand your clientele. You have to understand your collectors. You have to understand that, for instance, like the paintings which I do, it's not for everyone. You know, it's not for everyone. I try to share my story and be honest as I can, as I, you know, like the way I view the world, and share with the public, you know. And now social media has helped us that you can now, you know, try to create, you know, a certain niche, a certain client, a certain collector base, where those, let's say if you've got like 10 followers, those 10 followers can make you great more than, you know, 10,000 followers who don't even like your work, you know. So the idea of social media, branding, you know, consistency, and also engaging and learning from whoever is saying something which makes sense, I think is one of the most important things which can help an artist, because it does. For me, it has helped me in so many ways. You know, since I've started diving in my art, I can't even remember one day I've ever felt like, you know, I have to cut myself, you know, cut myself short and stuff. I've never felt like shit. Sorry. But the thing is, the work ethic is the most important thing ever. Work ethic is the most important thing. That's what I can say. And research, you know, research and involvement with people who've got better knowledge than you. You don't know everything as an artist. You have to seek for knowledge. And knowledge does help. And knowledge does take you to greater heights. Remember, the knowledge of art is broad. It's not about, using oil, paint, turpentine, etc. It's about understanding where you want to go. Remember, as an artist, you have to pay your bills. And August does. Most of the artists are in August does, Ellis House, wherever, in artists like art studios. You have to pay your bills. Do you get what I'm saying? The moment you fail to pay your bills, it means your career is over in most cases. Because imagine, for somebody like me who's coming from Wakanda, if I can't pay my bills, it's over. I've been deported. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm being honest for real. No, remember, we have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. So it means you're creating a brand. In that moment of honest, you're still creating a brand. You're not doing it to show the public that you are educated or XYZ. It becomes irrelevant sometimes when it comes to realities of life. So honest, it helps. And it helped me. It helped me, and it helped to touch so many, so many people there. I share my stories. People understand what I'm talking about. Not from a point of sympathy, though, but from a point of being honest that, no, this is my art. Because remember, all of us here have got talent. And talent is God-given. It's spiritual. It's something sacred. Do you get what I'm saying? It's sacred. Art institutions, they help you to grow you, as we went to study history, geography, etc., But the most important thing is you have to be honest with yourself and follow your dreams. That's it.
Thank you, Greatjoy. I want to go to Keneilwe. Our next question is, what were the hardships you encountered after obtaining your art degree that you might have felt were not really a necessity once you became a full-time practicing artist?
Are you saying what were the challenges that I faced after studying?
Yeah, what challenge did you face after studying that, afterwards, maybe you reached a point where it questioned the necessity of your diploma, whether why do I have this in life if I can't achieve X, Y, Z?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, as much as I did learn a lot, at the point that I am now, I feel like most of what I learned is irrelevant to being a professional artist who is supposed to survive on your practice, because no one taught us about, the business aspect of it. I mean, they tried to put in small modules about professional practice, but never once did we really delve into the fact that as a professional artist, you're a business. That point wasn't made, wasn't put across at all, and that's why I agreed that it's outdated, because some of these curriculums were structured so long ago that, I mean, now with all the information that is available online with social media, there's no module on marketing yourself through social media, which I think is so important, because it's only now that I'm surviving from just being a practicing artist through social media. Most of my sales are through Instagram, and most of how I started learning how to brand myself was through social media. And I mean, things like that, branding, marketing, they need to teach us that, because that's what that's what draws the line between an academic artist and a professional artist. You need to know how business works, you know. I mean, it doesn't have to be on a very corporate way, but in the art business, there needs to be a designated whole module on business throughout your whole career. Because I mean, right after university, I was creating, but I didn't know how to sell, you know. And the thing is, in university, they push you going to galleries and stuff. I've shown with so many galleries. My CV is 4 pages long, but I hardly ever sold with galleries because they couldn't sell my work. And that's a fault on their part because they couldn't find a market for it. But now I've learned on my own how to find my own market, how to sell my own work, how to brand myself. I learned that all by myself through trying and trying and trying, and seeing what works. Now, I've also seen how irrelevant galleries are becoming, especially since I make my earnings outside the gallery space. So they need to give us those options. Let artists know that, yes, it's great to show with galleries, but that's not where it starts and ends. You need to be your own. You need to be your own boss. You need to know who to sell your work to, get your own clients, build your own, like a full brand, and how to market it to people. So I think that's the biggest thing that's missing. I mean, without social media, I'd be starving, you know? I'd be starving if I depended on selling through galleries, and I was starving. But after figuring out how other ways of marketing works, I'm now able to survive, and that's been really helpful. That's the one thing I wish I learned in university, how to be a business.
Thank you, Keneilwe. We want to go to Percy. Percy, did you encounter any hardships during the course of your career that made you feel like you wish you had gone and gotten formal training at some point? Have you ever had that experience?
No.
No.
No. I had a bunch of opportunities where they wanted to take me to like fully paid tertiary, and I think 3 or 4 people wanted to do that to me. I mean, for me. But the thing is, the question I ask all of them is, am I going to get the business side of art? I've been drawing my whole life. I know how to paint. I know Bev Bo, I know Womxn. I know mostly I'm going to get the theory part, but am I going to get something that is going to make me money when I'm done with my qualification? But the thing is, I didn't get that answer. I think there was only one school, NS Dijon, where they pitched me an idea that might work, but then I still couldn't go with it. So for me personally, I love learning by myself. I can take that pain. So I haven't seen anything that I would definitely gain, which was going to like lift me up from where I am, go from again. I think mostly it's because I have friends who went to tertiary, who did like who got their qualification, but then when they came back, then I had to teach them how to survive on the street. So now, if you go to tertiary and I have to teach you how to survive from the street, for me it becomes a loophole. Okay, why did you go there and then you come to me because you should be teaching me stuff? So then that's when I realized, oh, okay, so they didn't update their modules, the thing, whatever they are teaching them. So, and then I understand that. Remember, for them to teach you, they need to have something is already written down and it's already proven. So we are constantly growing. We don't have time to write. We are participating as artists. So it's gonna take a while for people who are at tertiary level to learn. Like there's like the business part that is happening now. Remember, business changes everything. So now we are calling ourselves friends, but in the next 10 years, we will be calling ourselves something else. So the module should change according to negotiate. So I haven't seen any. I'm not saying it's not important, but I haven't seen anything that I couldn't get from from YouTube or from being in a space where, like, in a surrounding where there's like artists that I can get from Go Tertiary. So me being in, for example, me being in August House I've been here. This is my second year, so I've been here for 2 years. I've learned more than someone who's like doing their third year now as an artist. So because I'm practically here, I'm facing the challenges. I know what Greatjoy are here, they are facing the challenges. When we speak, the language is the same, and I start to understand. So when I say something that they went through, it's easy for me to have a conversation with them. Then I learn faster, then I adapt faster. Then my business becomes easier than someone who's going to start with, I have a qualification ideology. Because some of those guys, they become big-headed. They don't understand that you have to start from scrubbing the feet of these other guys, and then you grow yourself up. If you're lucky enough, you can just come from Scala and then boom. But imagine how many people are doing that. It's not just in the arts industry, but everyone who goes to school, they come up with a mindset that I'm qualified to earn something, a big amount of cash. So for me now, I didn't get anything. But for like my nephew is at school, he's not self-driven like me. That's good for him.
Percy, can I add something? So, sorry guys. I think education is very important. My privilege when I was at school, the school which I went, it does have like a national monument. It's the best school in Zim. So they taught me everything. Right now, there's still like an exhibition which is ongoing in London, which is about my school, because the paintings were done in like 1940 or something. So it was great, the way they taught us. It was like an art school. It wasn't like a secondary school, though we had like other subjects and stuff, but it was a great school. Education is very important. You need to learn, like for instance, at this moment I don't have a degree myself. I still want to advance my education. I think it's very important. It will help you to understand certain things which you might not understand, with general knowledge. Because in as much as you would research on YouTube and Google, there's an element of you're not that serious. Yes, you want to know. It's like hustling, But when you have knowledge and you understand certain things, it helps you to also equip, young ones which are coming up. It helps you to motivate the young ones which are coming up in a better way, because you know both sides of the coin. So I would say education is very important.
Yeah, I agree that education is very important. I think for me now, the question is, what kind of education? Because I mean, even learning from YouTube videos and articles and documentaries, that's education. So, like, you can still do that and be educated. I think it all just depends on your preferred way of learning information. For some people, it works for them to do a whole course for a whole year and to have deadlines to submit this and to learn about this and that. For some people, that structure works well. We don't think the same way. But I think YouTube and online articles, and I mean, you can also get academic articles online for free.
But what I'm saying is because of the pressures of life, how many artists do that?
There's a lot of artists who do that. I think the difference is that this whole online thing, this whole self-driven education is quite new. And for myself, when I went to school, that was a long time ago, but if I had as much access to information online as I do today, I would have much rather preferred to do specific online courses to learn, to get the education and the research, because that's how I learned best. I've learned so much more from documentaries, from articles, from books that I studied after or away from university. I've learned so much more, and the information has stayed with me a lot more than the information that I learned in university. It's only now that I realize that that's not the best way for me to learn things. I feel like everything that I learned in 3 years, I could have learned in a year. But I do agree that education is important. Just that university is not the only form of education.
Speaking about forms of education, Keneilwe, I want to know, why do you think there's a lack of self-taught female artists? We see it happening a lot with the male artists, where we come across artists who've taught themselves how to create, how to paint, and how to run themselves as businesses. But it's not fashionable when you look at female artists. Most of them did get a formal education, and they did graduate from an institute, a formal institute. Do you have any on why it's there's a lack of self-taught females, and how we can encourage more females to teach themselves, like you're speaking about social media and videos and courses? Yeah, self-research.
I mean, you know, there's a lot of gatekeeping as well. I know maybe because I've worked a lot with my curation, I've worked a lot with women artists. So I know there's a lot of women artists who didn't go to university to study fine art, but they can create good work. But the gatekeepers, this has been going on for the entire Western art industry, where men are shown more than women. And as a woman, it's almost as if when you get to, you know, like a gallery or some representation, they first want to know where you studied. Instead of just taking the work as it is. I think that's the biggest thing, because I mean, in university, there's usually a lot more women students than male students in art. But then when you get to the industry, there's less women artists. So I think it has a lot to do with the gatekeepers.
So guys, sorry. I would like to hear what Bev has to say, because she's been quiet for a while now. It's unfair.
I've been pushing mute and unmute and mute and unmute.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Lot to say. No,
We're headed to you next.
And I'm going to kind of put out a few things all jumbled kind of from the conversation. The first thing is that I was at Cape Town Art Fair about 4 years ago, and I had a dinner with a gallerist from America who said flat out he wouldn't even look at a portfolio from an artist who didn't have a master's degree. And that kind of like just absolutely stunned me, that there are people in the industry who still believe that like there's this hierarchy of who's a good enough artist and who is, that it's based on education. So that kind of was shocking to me. The next thing is, I think there's such a trend in the world right now because of technology, and I think COVID will exacerbate it, to the democratization of education. Keneilwe was saying, the content is available online so easily. So I think we will see a whole lot of restructuring of the way education happens in the world. I mean, I think it is already happening in the world now. But the question of gatekeepers is a very, very relevant one. I do think that women, female artists, have to work so much harder than males to establish themselves, to prove themselves, to show their credibility. And then a little bit of me wonders, is it because we as females are not confident enough, or we don't put ourselves out there enough? Like, how much of that is the socialization that we've been brought up with, and that makes us maybe a bit more timid, a bit less able to kind of like just go out there into the world. So I'm not sure like what responsibility we have to take for that, and how much we have to then start empowering ourselves, and how much is gatekeepers who's stopping us. Like, I think it's a combination of both. I mean, and then I just wanted to say, so I was looking today, Aspire sent an email about an art prize that's going on right at the moment. I don't want to mention names. And of the 20 artists that they had whose work was on the auction, there were 4 females. And I just thought to myself, it's just shocking. It's just not good enough. There are such incredible female artists, and it's just not right. And we actually, sorry, I can see your hand. I just want to say one more thing. That I think that being an artist is being an entrepreneur. And all the skills that go into developing entrepreneurial businesses is what we should be taught and learning for ourselves as artists. We have to think about ourselves as a business, as a one-man business. And as you're asking the questions about branding, about your product, the quality of the product, about who your customers are, it's entrepreneurship, and that's the bit that isn't getting through to a formalized university. So I saw Keneilwe had her hand up. I don't know if she...
I want to first start, Keneilwe.
I wanted to comment.
You're on mute, Keneilwe.
I've also wondered, is there a lot of it based on how driven and out there women are? I think this is, I mean, because of history, and now it's slowly changing. But when you notice, when we see a lot of art and a lot of artists in the industry are male, and this is because of history. As a woman artist, as a girl, there's not enough representation for you to even think, I'm gonna make it as an artist. When the top artists are male, it almost seems like that's not something that I can even fathom or I can even reach for. And so it's not that women don't put themselves out there. I think because of this systematic gender thing, there just hasn't been enough of representation for women to go out there and do it. Because, I mean, let's look at it this way. Most women after university, or maybe not most, but in my experience, there's also the question of starting a family. Whereas for men, it's like straight down to business, you know? And as a woman, when you start a family, your priorities change. And that, I think, has a lot to do with why we don't see a lot of women artists young. And then, and the most women artists that we see in the spotlight are the older women artists, because they've built they've gone through all those things that have to do with womanhood, and now they've been able to focus more on their work, and they know what they're going for, and they know how to get there. So there's a lot of that we're seeing in history. But I mean, things are changing now. There's a lot more. And I think one more point, the aesthetic as well. I think when you look at a lot of the art that's been heavily pushed, the aesthetic is very male dominated from a male's perspective. And that's why even the market prefers to buy a male artist's work without even knowing that it's male. Just the aesthetic of it, they can relate to it because they've seen it so much. So like, I know a lot of women artists who really want to, but you know, I think a lot of it has to do with historical implications, which are now changing fast. I mean, it's great that there's a great demand for women artists. I think now is a great time for us. It's a great opportunity to make it out there. I mean, us at the project space, that's what we focus on, and especially now moving forward, it's going to be strictly all women and entrepreneurial and pushing that mission. So let's not be too quick to say women are less driven. I think that's a danger.
I mean, I agree with everything that you say, well, almost everything that you're saying. I just wonder how much, like, I don't put myself out there in the way that a man would do it. And I think there's an element of taking personal responsibility for your career. There's an element of that we're not trained to be assertive enough as women, that we're not trained to be confident enough, that we're not trained to be out there enough. And I wonder to what extent, like, a man just kind of like bashes down barriers that a woman is much more sensitive towards and steps back towards. And I think part of what we need to be training women on is assertiveness training and empowering women just to feel like we can literally achieve anything. Like, why should we actually believe that there are glass ceilings in the way? Like, if we believe they're there, then they're going to be there. Like, I think part of what we need to be doing now is changing our entire mindset, and it's exactly the work that you're doing. It's to like just say, we're just going to go and we're just going to do it, and we're going to. That's what I see the men around me doing, just with like such like confidence and force.
Can I say something? Sorry.
Yeah.
So the other time, I was having a conversation with Olwethu, and Olwethu remembers what I said. I say, we've got so many people, I read this statistics saying females buy more property than men and couples, meaning that females got money. So I think we've got so many influential women in South Africa, which might tap into this art world and assist the female market, because I've got so many artists which I like. For instance, I own Olwethu's sculpture, you know, and I like it, you know, I love it, you know. But I think you guys deserve better because you're a small portion and you're a minority in this industry. I think you deserve so many sponsorships. It deserves so much attention. It deserves so much hype, you know. And honestly, what I'm saying, I told Olwethu the other time, because I think it is very important for you guys to be supported financially, so to be supported in terms of business, because in as much we might paint, is as much as we might, even a drunkard and a vagabond might have his own concepts. Everyone can have a concept, but what justifies the concept is the market, you know, how you flourish. But I think we do have so many influential females who are not doing what they're supposed to be doing because they are supporting all these ladies who are in music and stuff. I think you guys also as visual artists, you need to be supported accordingly. You guys need to be funded. You guys need to be asked questions. What do you want? Do you get what I'm saying? For instance, I'll give you one example. I've always been saying this. I've been in August Stars for a longest time now. At August Stars, I have a sister. My sister loves art. I don't see my sister at August Stars. August Stars is not favorable for a female artist because it's male dominant. It's intimidating. It's too much. Do you get what I'm saying? It's too much testosterone. I'm joking, but it's too much, you know? And I think, female investors must be looking at stuff like that. First of all, if you've got a beautiful studio, studio is, the reception at your studio is good, it's hospitable. I think it's easy for you to flourish and think properly. But now when you are frustrated and you're thinking of rent, August House needs rent at the end of the month and you're not selling, it's frustrating, as a female artist. It is frustrating. And I think you need so much involvement in terms of business. Practically, your work is stunning. I've got label, I've got Olwethu now. I'm still trying to, but the most important thing is, investment. You ladies also deserve millions. Someone must come with, there's a people who've got a lot of money. CEOs who are females must come with, okay, I've got this idea. Olwethu, what do you think? Bev, what do you think? Renero, what do you think? I think that's also important. Do you get what I'm saying? We don't have any female artist who's endorsed with a car brand. Do you get what I'm saying? As females, we've got Nessa Makamo's got everything mustn't be Nessa Makamo. Everything mustn't be Lionel Smith. Everyone, yeah?
We have Esther Machangu.
Esther Machangu is a granny, man.
It's a
She doesn't enjoy those things, man. The thing. I'm talking about females who grow the future. Young people. You know what I'm saying?
Babe, you wanted to say something. Can we?
I think there are successful females in industry or whatever, but I don't think they put a lot of money into as much.
One example, Bev. One example. Independent female, not a female who is represented by a museum like what you call it, Mary Sebande. Not a female artist who's represented by a museum like who's that lady, Zanele Moholi. Not a female artist like Diane Victor. Diane Victor is nice. She has worked. She's represented. Like I'm talking about the young blood.
I feel like in the last maybe year, 2 years, there has definitely been a shift. Like I think there really is much more focus on younger artists, specifically ones who don't come from privileged backgrounds, to give them opportunities. And I think that that's fantastic. But Keneilwe hinted or said it very clearly. Women have so many more complexities in their lives around children, around families, around taking prime responsibility that men just don't have. And it really does make it a hell of a lot harder. And Greatjoy, I agree with you. I think women do need more support because it's really
money
hard.
changes. Money changes perspective. Give Olwethu 5 million right now and say Olwethu create a residence for female artists. I'm telling you, high school children, female daughters at high school be like, you know what, one day I want to be as Olwethu, because Olwethu is equivalent to Bonang. Olwethu is equivalent to Miss South Africa because it's that great. She has influence. The problem is also our art market. I don't know if it's imaging or whatever, but they don't also support females in the way they support us. They always question stuff.
May I say something?
Yeah, I think it's very important.
Is my voice going through though?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I've been quiet for a while, so I'm digesting what you guys are saying. But I think also Bev has said something saying that we might be undermining. We are brands regardless if you are a female or you are a male. So male, I think most of the time we are used to the word no. So, to the point that even if I want to post my work, I don't care if you like it or what. so we can expose ourselves as much as we can. For someone to invest in you, they need to know for are you participating? Are you active? So once most females, they get pressed. You know, once you start posting
The thing
stuff,
is, Pers, I hear you. Sorry.
Greatjoy, let's
we need a superwoman. We need a superwoman. That's it. Because you brothers, you've got people which you look up to. For instance, I'll give you, we've got William Kenrich, we have Sam Changatwa, we've got people which you are looking. So if you are posting at 12 a.m., you know that one day we might be a Sam Changatwa. But for a female, it's difficult because you need
That's
to
the point that I was trying to make.
Keneilwe and I just need a few years and we'll be that.
For me, that's the point that I was trying to make, that there isn't enough representation. If more, like, it's so much easier for men because already in the art world, there's a lot of art that is from a male's gaze, and there's a lot of collectors who are already accustomed to that gaze, and there isn't enough women at the top who can inspire the young women to think, oh shit, like, this is for me, I can go for it. And it's not just in the art industry, in so many other industries. You see it with doctors, you see it with lawyers and stuff. It's just, you know, a historical gender based kind of structure where it's only now beginning to change. So with more Zanele Moholis, with more Mary Sibande, then we'll see a lot more young women artists coming up because, you know, there's another woman. Why can't I do it? You know?
That's our challenge. It's your and my direct challenge. And that's what I'm going to do. I was saying to Greatjoy, give Keneilwe and I another 3 years and we will be there. Am I right? Okay. Like, we're going to be the ones who are inspiring the younger generation of art.
I agree.
Can I go back to my point now? Greatjoy, you chopped me off. So what I wanted to say is, for someone to invest in you, for you to love Nike was always in your face. For you to love Coca-Cola, it's always in your face. So with this lockdown and Corona stuff, I think it's a good way. Well, it's a bad thing, but it's a good way for us because now it moves away the middleman. So it gives you a leverage that you can use your social media to your advantage. So if you get to expose yourself, obviously you're not going to be liked from the first chat. We've never been liked from like first post. But now you have that leverage that you can use your own time, your own data, and then promote your own work. So once you start getting used to that, getting used to people saying no to your work, it's not about those people. You build that character that.
Percy, sorry, brother. Okay. Sorry, I'm sorry. I want to add something. When it comes to social media, I follow Olwethu's work. I follow Keneilwe. I don't know if I follow Keneilwe, but I do. I know Keneilwe from LAE and stuff. I follow Olwethu Level. In terms of social media, they're getting good traction. I don't want to lie. The most important thing is here. It's not about cloud or creating small-term achievement. We're talking about real things. We're talking millions. We're talking about investing in the female stream. You get what I'm saying? This is what we're talking about here. Not small-time achievement. So, for instance, if we've got brands are not focusing on females, visual artists. If we've got brands who say, Olwethu, can you do X, Y, Z? It will expose Olwethu in a different manner than Olwethu posting on Instagram because we're like, that's Olwethu, we know Olwethu, get away. You know what I'm saying? That's real. But now, if you've got, like, for instance, I'll give you one example. Mercedes-Benz calls Olwethu. Olwethu, want to meet you, want to have an appointment. Olwethu, want to endorse you. We want you to be this visual artist who represents female artists. You know what I'm saying? They call Keneilwe, you know, let's say Maserati, whatever. We want to XYZ. that helps the look of things, that helps the dignity of a female artist. For instance, we've got
guys,
who's worshipped. We've got Nelson Makabo, who's worshipped by the whole country. He's got this BMW, which he drives from BMW. He's the only, okay, I want to be honest with this real thing. What I'm trying to say here is we don't have a female artist who's there and who's being supported accordingly. Let me tell you something. All these ladies are doing great art, but the problem is it's representation. I'm telling you, when I was still in Wakanda, I'm still the same Greatjoy. What's different now is I'm in the right place. I've got the right supporters, I've got the right patrons, I've got real people who look at my work. But now, the exposure comes better when you're being supported. Honestly, I will tell you, exposure comes better when you're being supported by proper things. That's it.
Okay.
So, wait, can I please cut you off? We have gone long beyond our time. So I think I'm just going to conclude. So I think just to say what you were trying to say, that branding is important, and for branding to work, you need to be consistent, right?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
What Greatjoy is saying as well is that there are females that are consistent, but regardless of the efforts, there are not enough. The private sector is not investing enough in females, and we cannot look. Yes, there's Mary Sibande, yes, there's Zanele Moholi, but then these are great artists that come from that come from a formal education, that are represented by galleries, that have platforms. And the point of this conversation, it's going back to why are there not enough females in the industry that are self-taught? And it goes back to what Greatjoy is saying about how there's not enough investors regarding the female artists, and that is something that we can look into. So if you guys also have, because the whole point of these conversations is that some things, a project grows out of it, and it doesn't end in the air, that we just had a conversation about it. You know, we need to move forward and
act on it.
And act on it. Yes, Bev.
I wanted to bring up Lady Scully. I think she's a great example of an artist to put herself out there on social media. She's quite she's like really out there, and she does it consistently, and she's done a great job, and she's had lots of support from corporate South Africa, from clothing brands, etc. But she's done a fantastic job of branding herself. So I mean, I think there are examples for that we can follow, but I must say I do agree with you that I think it's something that we need to be focusing on in a much more serious way.
Also, guys, remember that for a company to sponsor you, there's principles. If you are a company, if you are a brand, the company looks at you in relation to their principles. So if, let's say for me, for someone to sponsor me, I need to be in connection with their principles, and then I need to work like I'm pushing my own thing, but it needs to connect to them. Because I've also pitched a few ideas to big companies, but they were like, no, that's not one of their principles. So the thing is, we tend to forget that we're not selling artworks. Artwork is just the end product of what we are selling. We are selling something more than that. So whereas the whole package of your soul is there, your principles, the way you treat yourself is there. So once you expose yourself in that way, the whole package of you, then someone gets to connect with your work. And then by connecting with your work, that's when the relationship starts to develop. They can't just sponsor you from straight from your check and then they start sponsoring you. No, that's going to impact their brand in a different way. It might be negative, but they need someone who's growing, or someone who's at the point where they say, okay, this person might be where, like, might have made some move for herself. Now, how can we enhance her brand and our brand at the same time? Because when they sponsor you, it's not about them just sponsoring you. It's also them growing their brand, regardless how big the company is.
I see we have Kenzani here. Kenzani, say something.
Don't be
different.
So I'm gonna go back to what Keneilwe said earlier about, I think, but then she said that we don't necessarily have to see ourselves as a whole.
Say something. Kenzani.
Greatjoy. Control
your opinion.
devastated.
What should happen?
So,
what's your opinion?
Oh, not
He
now.
really just got here,
He
so
just
let's
got
not
here.
put him on the spot. But
Yeah.
Wow.
we're
So-
almost out of time.
So we are out of time. So I just wanted to add in one last point and go back to what Keneilwe said about being a corporation. And I think it links everything so that as an artist, there's nothing wrong with seeing yourself as a corporation and not just as an artist, because as Keneilwe said, you know, there are so many entities that you have to do in order to be a successful, for you to have a successful career. So to the marketing, to the admin, to the creativity of it. So just self-managing yourself. And I think that's where we can start. Maybe if we can do courses on how to self-manage yourself as a corporation, and it can go back to what Percy said about how then the private sector can see you as a business and a brand and invest more in us as females, because we would be treating ourselves as a corporation.
Yeah. So thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Thank you, Bev Bo. Thank you, Keneilwe Mokoena. Thank you, Greatjoy Ndlovu. Thank you, Percy Maimela. And thank you to our viewers for joining us for Women to Women conversations.
Yes.
Discussions.
Conversations.
Thank you so much for joining us. We've reached the end of our talk. And we'd also like to thank Sarah Hallett. So until next time.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
A great chat. Thank you.